Hello and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Universe Podcast. Today we are talking about the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, The Rescue, with myself, Paul Hoppe, Ashley Coffin, and Jeff Randle. The gang's all here and we're going to have a lot to say right after this commercial break, which we have no control over, but will probably be Christmas ads. Welcome back, this is Matthew. I want to do just two quick pieces of business. First of all, this is going to be the last episode of Star Wars Universe Podcast for the rest of this year. Give everyone a little chance to enjoy the holidays, enjoy the new year, enjoy all the Zoom calls or whatever you're doing with family. Hopefully you're doing it in safe, COVID-appropriate ways. But we will be coming back starting early in January. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of episodes on the Clone Wars. Now that so many people are interested in that, we're going to be doing a Mandalorian primer. We're going to be doing things on the book, stuff like that. All sorts of stuff in the coming year to get us ready for all the new content that's coming out. So definitely, you won't see any episodes for a while, but definitely keep in touch with our podcast. We're going to have a lot of stuff coming in the new year. Secondly, this will hopefully be going up early Saturday morning. And later that day, the Stranded Panda Podcast Network is going to have a Star Wars themed holiday party. We're going to start at 5 p.m. Central with a watching of the original Star Wars holiday special. If you don't hate yourself and want to skip that, you can just join us at 7 p.m. Central to watch together the Lego holiday special, also a Lego Star Wars show. And then at 8 o'clock, we're just going to have a general holiday party on Zoom and Twitch. So it should be a great time. You can find all the details about that by joining the Facebook group for the Stranded Panda Podcast Network. So with all that out of the way, I've got 3 people joining me today. I'm going to go one by one. Jeff, how are we doing today?
It's a great day for Mandalorian fans.
It really is. It really is. Ashley, is that a idea that you share?
Yeah, I'm happy and sad that it's over, but I'm also happy.
Yeah. There's a bit of sweetness sad. Knowing this is the last time we're doing this. But and Paul, how we doing on your front?
I'd say all of the disappointment that I've suffered through the prequel series, the sequel series, and various other things like Dexter, where I love a series and then it just does something and it's just such a disappointment. Uh-huh. This is one of the first times that the last episode of, I guess it's just the end of the season. There's plenty of time to disappoint, but where it lived up to and exceeded all of my expectations. And really for me was the Star Wars content that I've wanted since I saw Return of the Jedi when I was 5.
Yeah. There was a great, article in an Onion type site that I saw earlier today that said Pedro Pascal injures himself by carrying entire Star Wars franchise on his back.
Yeah.
That was very fitting.
It's funny, but the number of people involved, it's so deeply wrong. Like, if you say The Mandalorian,
mm-hmm. For sure,
it injures its back by, carrying the entire live action Star Wars franchise on its back. Like, yeah, okay. But it's like the number of people who had to contribute at such a high level to make this show everything it's been. To make this one episode everything it's been. I think Pedro Pascal is phenomenal, right? I think he's amazing in this. I love him in other things. But like, it's such a film is such a collaborative medium. You don't make something this good without all hands on deck, just really contributing at such a high level.
And puppets. And that little puppet, because Grogu got so many people who but so many people who wouldn't watch this, like, saw that little thing and was like, I love him, I'm gonna watch the Star Wars show now, and they actually watched the whole thing.
Yeah,
let's watch the Baby Yoda show.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard people say it that way.
And adorable, but actually, I think you said it best when you said that the puppeteer should get a Best Acting nomination.
An Emmy, I think, right?
Yeah, the Emmy.
Oh, it would be an Emmy, yeah.
Because I think the we all commented on this, the emotiveness of that puppet in that crucial scene where he has to say goodbye to the Mando and go off with Luke, which, by the way, let's talk about Luke in a minute, but just that, the acting of a puppet, I never thought I'd say those words, but God, it was so good.
He touched his helmet as if to say, I want to see your face to say goodbye, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah. There was definitely a lot of people cutting onions in the room when I was watching those scenes, and there may be again. I was
why don't I have
everything
feelings?
Was so good.
I watched it like 4 times so far, or like 3.5 or whatever. Like I watched the end sequence like 2 or 3 times extra, but the whole thing through 3 solid times. And the point at which like I missed it up actually kept coming earlier in the episode, which like the first time it was just that interaction between Grogu and Din, right? But then like the next time it was like as soon as like the X-Wing shows up, and actually maybe the third time was later, but whatever.
Yeah.
It was touching. It was touching as hell, and it's a puppet, you know, but it's a living, you know, it's just so good.
Yeah. So good.
Yep. And if anybody should be in the discussion of pulling muscles, let's talk Jon Favreau.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, a number of the writers involved. I finished up those postquels. There was a part of me that sort of felt like maybe the Star Wars part of my life is done now, and that it would end a little bit bittersweetly, but I could still enjoy the movies and enjoy the overall story. And I remember when Mando came out, the first episode, I was very nervous about it. I was like, I don't want to put all my new Star Wars hopes back into something else. And just from the beginning of that first episode, it was amazing. And the fact that they've kept, we had some definite times in the season we were like, this is not really the thing we were looking for.
Right.
But wow, what a fantastic way to close it out. And I felt like it did just such a perfect job of wrapping up a number of storylines while also leaving us with a number of like open stories that have to be considered, but without there being a huge cliffhanger. I think we said that at the end of season 1 too, that it doesn't have that huge, like, oh my God, what will happen now? We have to wait a year. I feel very satisfied. I feel like this chapter of the story has ended, and I'm excited for the new chapter, but I don't feel like I'm on a cliff. Yeah.
I think that it was smart to get out of the book of Grogu, so to speak, the Baby Yoda phase of the show. It's smart to have done that now, in that it's, they can move on to a different story to tell, and they've got a really solid wide ass open one of the like reclaiming Mandalore.
Right.
It's gonna be sad though. I don't know how to feel about thinking that next season's not gonna have Grogu.
It might, right? I mean, we don't know, but it definitely feels like it won't, right? I feel like episode 7 was kind of setting up like the idea in our heads that we can watch this show without Grogu in an episode. And because I remember, Ashley, you said that was your favorite episode to that point. And, Matthew, you were like, and it didn't even have Grogu in it. And we're like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like, how can you have an episode that we enjoy that much with that? But it's because they've really developed over time, kind of gradually, like a really nice cast of characters, right? They've rounded out kind of the team, and there's a lot of different ways it can go. And, now it feels like they're leaning more into the Mandalorian story of Mandalore. And, they've got a light cruiser, a darksaber, and Bo-Katan wants to go take back Mandalore. And I mean, Din Djarin doesn't really have anything else to do right now. Like, he's like, all right, you go off to university, Grogu. Like,
did he take an actual bounty at all this season?
No,
so. He like almost did, right, in the Jedi episode, but like he didn't.
Yeah,
actually, he was like,
he did, but he didn't.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I didn't accept the contract.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no POG or whatever those things are called.
Right. Yeah, he had one sort of transport job and a bunch of side quests, but
exactly, yeah.
And Paul, I think that's really interesting because, I mean, not that long ago, you were saying that if there was no Grogu, you wouldn't be interested in the show anymore. Have you kind of, you think they've done it in a way that you think you would stay interested?
They've done it in a way that I'm not mad at them. So
that's
I will
huge.
allow them to keep
That's
making
huge.
episodes, and I will watch them, and I'll reserve judgment.
Okay, I'll get on the phone to Filoni.
Thank you.
Jeff, you get on with Feige. Tell him we have the green light from Paul. They can go.
I mean, look, I was like, okay, you need to not kill off Ming-Na Wen. You need more Asian characters. Like, you need to not like do anything horrible to Grogu. Luke is the only one who can come back and like like sort of save them in the last episode and train Grogu that actually makes sense, because like what's he up to? And they did all those things, so clearly they're listening to the podcast.
There you go.
Totally.
There you go.
You know.
They're subscribers.
So let's talk about Luke coming back, because I can't remember the kind of like childish excitement I've had about something. I mean, maybe when they mentioned Thrawn, but like...
Right. But it's a little different, right?
Yeah. I mean, Luke was one of my absolute heroes when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I want to hear from others, but I remember like early in the season, we started talking about, you know, how is it if Grogu has the Force and now Cara Dune knows about it or others, then somehow Luke's got to find out about it, right? And I think I said something along the lines of like, it would make sense for Luke to come and get him. But of course that can't happen. There's no way Luke appears on a show like this. And I think I kind of talked myself out of it. I was so happy to see I was wrong in that.
Yeah.
How did everyone else feel first of all, did you immediately know it was going to be Luke when you saw the X-Wing? Were you guessing or not sure?
I thought what you thought. I was like Appa, and then I was like Cara Dune in that moment. Well, what's he going to do? How's he going to help us? And then immediately I was like, the only other person I know who has an X-Wing is Luke. Oh my God. And then I saw he had on his Michael Jackson glove. I was like, definitely Luke.
Yeah. It was right hand gloved, left hand free. I was like, that's Luke. But we didn't see that until after the green saber. Like when we saw him on the monitor, it was black and white. I was like, they're hiding the saber color. This is Luke.
Yeah.
Then there was only one.
And then...
So I was like, not Ahsoka.
It wasn't Ahsoka.
Yeah, it wasn't Ahsoka. It's you know, it's a dude in a robe that looks kind of like the build that Mark Hamill had at that time. And then like they showed the green saber, and I was like, that's Luke. It's Luke right there. That's the only person that has ever had a green lightsaber, obviously, ever.
Well, okay. So
yeah, no, go ahead. You well actually this one.
I have a lot to say about this. I'll try to keep it under like 10 minutes. No.
Take your time.
Okay. So first of all, I think they just did a phenomenal job with the way he showed up, the way they gradually let us know who it was, right? And all the things they did earlier in the season to set it up. Like, yeah, my first thought, even though going into this, I was like the only person that makes sense showing up with the like Deus Ex Machina kind of, you know, here comes the Jedi is Luke, right? Because what's he doing? What's he doing all this time? Like, he's got to be the one who like knows, oh, there's Grogu, right? Like, people were saying, oh, maybe it'll be Ezra Bridger, who, by the way, had a green lightsaber at the end of Rebels. So, okay. So yeah, he started with the blue lightsaber, and then I think it got destroyed, and then he made himself a green one. So it could have been Ezra. And a lot of people, like Luke, exactly. And a lot of people have been saying that, oh, it'll probably be Ezra or something. The thing is, like, first of all, if this dramatic thing at the end is Ezra, it feels a little weird that the live-action audience has never seen him, right?
Yeah.
So, like, people who are fans of Rebels would be like, yeah, it's Ezra. And people would be like, who? What now? You know? But
hell's Ezra?
I thought Qui-Gon Jinn's lightsaber was green.
I think you're right. Okay. I think you're right. Yes, and there are a bunch in the Clone Wars and whatever. But in terms of like Jedi who are around now, well, there aren't many left, right? Okay. As Ahsoka so poignantly points out. But so the X-Wing shows up, and my first thought is Appa. You know, I'm like, it's Carson Teva, who I think it's pronounced Teva, but we've never heard it pronounced that I know of. But I heard Paul Sun-Hyung Kim Lee. Oh my goodness, I have to stop doing that. On I'd say edit it out and I'll just say it right, but like whatever. You can make fun of me.
It makes up for all my times about the Battle of Yavin.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that my wife's name is Lee makes it even worse. You know what I mean? But you know, I thought it was going to be him for a sec. Oh, he was on a podcast and they pronounced it Teva, and he didn't correct them, so I imagine it's correct. Okay. But who knows? Anyway, since he's like the one we've seen in an X-Wing this season, right? And Dave Filoni, his co-pilot, or not co-pilot, his wingman. Thank you. There's a word for that, and that's the word. Like, they set that up, so we see an X-Wing, and that's our first thought, right? But it's like, well, this is someone coming alone, and like, really, what's one, you know, rebel captain now with the New Republic gonna do against these, you know, 40 or however many Dark Troopers who are so fearsome that one-on-one with Mando, it's like a fair fight, right?
Right.
So, okay, sure, maybe he could show up, but like it didn't feel like it was going to be that. And then it was like, it's going to be a Jedi. And you see, they're clearly trying to hide who it is. And then you see the green lightsaber, and everybody had been talking about Ezra. And I was like, well, he has a green lightsaber. But yeah, when you see the black gloved hand and then the other hand bare, it's like, that's clearly Luke. But the moment for me that it's like extra obvious is when the elevator's doors open, right, with that last group of Dark Troopers, and he's got that belt buckle, which is the same belt buckle from Return of the Jedi. And also just the way he moved. There was so much continuity with the way he moved compared to, like, he moved so much like the way he moved in Return of the Jedi, just the fighting style, right?
Yeah. The
kind of like wide stance, the very deliberate strokes. It just lined up, and it was like, this is Luke. And just him seeing Baby Yoda and looking him in the face, to me, was like so powerful, and this way that it connects the story together from, Empire, Return of the Jedi, into Mandalorian, and it connects it together in a way that no other character could have.
Oh my god!
All right, that's all I have to say.
They kept showing just like the little bottom portion of his face, and I was trying to think. I was like, only Luke Skywalker has a baby face like that, clean shaven, completely.
Right. Yeah.
Him
exactly.
and Anakin, the Skywalker boys, love their shaved face.
They do.
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul, you put it perfectly about how no other character would make sense, and I think that's why, like in the middle of the season, I was saying that it would, on some level, it would annoy me if it wasn't Luke, because like we know that Luke is supposed to be like trying to find out about other Jedi right now and trying to rebuild things.
What he's supposed to be up to.
But in my head, in that same kind of way of like, you never expect Tony Stark to show up to rescue like Daredevil or Luke Cage. Mm-hmm. Like, because it's just, that's a movie. This is the TV show. I just didn't think that would happen here.
Yeah, Luke's too big for this.
Yeah, right? And so I was just so happily surprised. Because you're right, like, we never saw Ezra in an X-Wing, obviously. And also, I think you're right, the audience wouldn't connect to it.
I think we did see Ezra in an X-Wing, no?
No, I think X-Wing never, because by the time I don't think X-Wings existed yet.
No, it's because definitely, because in Rebels, right, that's like just before A New Hope. And in fact, Hera crashes an X-Wing.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So we did see that. And one other continuity thing, another person who has, another live-action person who, well, sort of, another person in a live-action movie who has a green lightsaber is Yoda.
Oh, yeah.
That's true, yeah.
But just speaking of that scene where, like, the doors open and we see Luke with a belt buckle, that shot of him holding the lightsaber in the midst of the smoke, and at first all you really see is the lightsaber. Did anyone get a huge flash to the scene of, like, Vader at the end of Rogue One?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
If that wasn't on purpose, I mean.
Yeah. And that wasn't the one, that's the second time. That's when he's coming through the door after Din's like, open the door.
Right.
The time I was saying with the belt buckle is when he gets off the elevator.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what I meant. The time when he's about to mow down that last hallway.
Oh. Yeah. Is that smoky? That's when it's smoky, or it's smoky after that, I think.
It was smoky after that.
It's smoky the next one. But the whole thing definitely has this Rogue One end of, where Vader's there and just cutting through everybody, just like it's nothing. And
right.
That whole thing was definitely a callback to that, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it was just done so well.
The only other time I've seen something that has been that like intense of a I only see the lightsabers moment was in the fall of the Jedi Temple in the cinematics of Star Wars: The Old Republic, when Darth Malgus takes down the Jedi Temple, and like all of the lightsabers of the Sith turn on in the darkness at the same time, and you're like, oh shit, it's about to get real.
Oh wow. I will say that we're probably going to extend the definition of book club, that we may well also cover some of the video games, because I know some of them have have a lot of canon to them as well. as just an example, I'm currently playing the Star Wars Squadrons game, which is basically a flight simulator for Star Wars. It's really fun, but there is a story, and Hera Syndulla appears in that story.
Oh, nice. Cool. Nice.
Yeah. So she's if you're one of the X-Wing pilots, she's sometimes giving you orders, and it's awesome. So let's talk about Jin's journey, because I want to talk about him, and then I want to talk about Grogu and that final scene with Luke. I thought him taking off the mask was just so perfect, in terms of everything he's gone through this season and the growth he's had about being a Mandalorian. Before he had to do it for a life and death reason. It was just like, the kid wants it, this will help the kid, and the emotional connection. And it just felt like, for me, this was really his break with, maybe this rule doesn't make sense in light of everything else that's going on. How did you all feel about that scene and just his whole journey to get to that point?
I mean, the fact that he did it in front of Bo-Katan, or Bo-Katan, however you want to pronounce it.
Did they? They were behind him, I thought.
That's what I'm saying.
They were, but she was there.
Okay.
She was there, and she was watching, and he takes his helmet off to communicate with this kid. And, in the last episode, he had struggled to take his helmet off just to, let a thing scan his face so that he could save the kid. He's doing everything he can to be there for this child. And, taking his helmet off for the kid is, that final moment where you absolutely know that they both feel that connection to each other. Even if he can't really understand the kid, he said, he's scared to go with you. And then Luke says, he's asking for your permission. Oh, there you go. Not understanding Force speak in the head. Maybe if you took your helmet off, you could catch the signals or whatever. But once he finally is, he's faced with this moment of I have to say goodbye to this kid, and I can say, I'll see you again soon, whatever. He's not sure. He takes his helmet off so that they can look each other in the eye, and it's so damn moving.
It really was.
And his eyes welled up with tears, just barely. Whenever Luke was getting on the lift, I can't take it.
It's I feel like he wanted him to see his face, just in case, or if they ever met up again and he didn't have his helmet on. I mean, I guess Grogu would know, but it was because he loves him.
Yeah. And the point about Bo-Katan being there, it's earlier in this episode, Bo-Katan looked at Boba Fett and was like, "You're not a real Mandalorian." And this is a guy that Din Djarin respects and has been working with for a bit now. And he saw how badass this guy was, and for that guy to be told you're not a real Mandalorian, what even is a real Mandalorian at this point?
Especially because she had just said that real Mandalorians aren't bounty hunters. And she meant
not
that about
all Mandalorians are bounty hunters,
right? But she said in a very kind of dismissive way, so that that's also a little bit of an attack on Dan, or at least she's going to feel it that way.
Yeah.
And they've just had this major confrontation about him not quite understanding the rules of Mandalorian rulership because he was never taught them,
right?
And this conflict where she maybe has to take the Darksaber from him. So I just thought that moment was so significant on so many levels.
Yeah, it just felt perfect to me. Earlier in the scene that you're referencing with Boba and Bo-Katan, he said, Din says, "Help me rescue the child and you can take whatever you want. He is my only priority."
Right.
And up until that point, keeping his helmet on was his only priority almost, not until that point, but until he met the child, right?
That's
until
true.
He met Grogu. And, not literally, but his priority was, I am a Mandalorian. I have been saved as a child, and this is the way that I have followed in the time since then. But now this is my child, right? Or this is my foster child or whatever. And that's, I don't know. I have this thing for assassins who basically stop being the same type of assassin because of kids, the replacement killers, the Bourne Identity, the Long Kiss Goodnight, Gross Point Blank, the Professional. Thank you. There's a list, they're basically reverse Anakins, and he's he's that where he's still this hardened killer or whatever. And, so are all those characters to some extent. But he's undergone this very deep change with his relationship with his child. And I think taking the helmet off is like, that's sort of the biggest statement he can make, that like, my identity now is being a dad, basically, right? He's like, everything else that I've previously held to is insignificant compared to you. You are my only priority, my kid. And then the heartbreak of like turning him over to Luke, like, he's like, go with him. He's one of your kind, one of your kinds. It's like, it's this bittersweet, where it feels to me like, knowing Luke from the original trilogy, I feel like Luke is the right character for him to go off with, right? Yeah. It feels right to me in a way that a lot of the old school Jedi stuff doesn't. I really do feel like Luke is more of an embodiment of what the Jedi were supposed to be than a lot of the Jedi like during the Clone Wars, even though he is fighting in a war, Right. But
he was never touched by the corruption and the fall of the Jedi in the way that so many others, including Obi-Wan, were.
Exactly. And he was taught by Yoda, and now here's a baby Yoda. And it's like, that's the perfect student for Luke to have, and he can be like, oh, well, my master, who incidentally looked like you, taught me this. And it's just, to me, it's this beautiful kind of, I don't know, the circle is now complete kind of thing.
He sure didn't care that, he sure let Luke just see his face. Like, he didn't care at all.
He didn't care at all, yeah.
And I thought one of the most beautiful parts of that was, and I actually, like, kind of, first I was worried about this, and I think I thought more about it, and it wasn't true. We have all talked about, in other parts of the stories, how much one of the worst things the Jedi were doing was basically, like, kidnapping children from their parents before the children had any understanding of what was going on.
Yeah.
And in this, Luke both acknowledges that he wants Grogu to make this choice, and we see a lot of, like, Grogu, like, game recognizes game. I made the comment.
Right. Grogu. That moment where, like, the X-Wing lands and we're not sure who it is, and Grogu, like, looks at the TV and, like, then touches the TV. It's like, oh, it's a Jedi. Grogu knows who it is.
It was so, his ears perk up.
But then, it's like,
when Luke says he needs your permission, I feel like a lot of times we've seen people be like, look, you stupid Mandalorian, you don't get the Force. He should be with us. You're not good enough for him. I feel like Luke completely acknowledges the relationship that they have.
Yes.
And he wants, Grogu to make the choice. And that's just, to me, that especially, like you're saying, Paul, it just breaks with everything that had been so wrong about the Jedi.
Yeah, there's this level of consent that doesn't exist in these other stories.
And Luke was old enough when he started his training to have had relationships and understand that, like, maybe relationships aren't all bad.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
And just as we're talking about this,
especially,
go ahead.
Oh, and yet, especially this, the new master, so to speak, of the Jedi Order, because all the rest of them are dead apparently.
Yeah.
This new master of the Jedi Order, who, like, in the final moments of, or I guess the final half of the last movie that we watched, or that we saw in the timeline, has discovered that, like, love and those building and repairing those relationships is, like, this is the way, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because he understands that, he's like, yeah, man, say your goodbyes. If you don't want him to go, it's cool. You're welcome for the Dark Trooper dubstep that happened,
Right.
Ludwig just crushing it.
Oh, so good, the music. Oh my god.
The music was amazing. I'm going to guess that, especially given that we're using, like, CGI aging techniques, Luke isn't going to become a major character in this part of the timeline. But it does give me hope for the one scene that more than anything I want to see, which is Luke and Ahsoka getting to meet.
Me too.
Because I just think, and we've talked about this more in other places, but, like, so much of Ahsoka's story is her utter heartbreak about what happened to Anakin. And so just, like, Luke getting to connect with her, getting to tell her how Anakin ended his life. If they bring Luke back like this, I feel like they have to have Luke just for one moment in the Ahsoka show.
I agree.
Oh, man. Just to have her break down, like, we got him back.
Yeah, right.
We got him back.
I've seen like a illustration of that, right? Which is great, but like Anakin's a Force ghost now, right? Can't he just be like, "Yo, Ahsoka, what's up?"
That's so true.
I totally offed the Emperor. You should have seen it.
There's a great TikTok though about Ahsoka lecturing Anakin Force Ghost about like, what did you do to your son? What? Wait, you blew up your daughter's planet? What?
Yeah, I mean, he did some. It took him a while to come back around. You know, it was a big circle.
It'd be an uncomfortable family Christmas, but they could figure something out. You know, we'll see. Yeah. We might get to see that in the Star Wars Holiday Special tomorrow night. We'll find out. Just one more part of that scene, also. Let's talk about R2. And every time I introduce a topic, I give my own theory. So I'll just shut up and let you all talk. Like, R2 comes back. Where did that take you?
I love that they obviously knew each other. Yeah. Because it just makes sense for, you know, him getting out of there before all the little younglings were, you know. But there's like him jumping up and down. And then, I don't know who said it in the chat, but maybe he was the one who helped get him out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, man. I didn't even
Baby Yoda stuffed into one of his little compartments or something?
Yeah, get in here. He was like, remember when you were in my belly? Or whatever robots call it.
Move over, Willow.
Which is also kind of great because you remember R2's meeting with actual Yoda was not quite so friendly.
It was hilarious. I just rewatched Empire Strikes Back, and that scene, you know, the first meeting of R2 and Yoda is amazing.
Mine,
Yoda's like,
whacking with a stick.
And whacking a stick against R2. Yeah, I mean, R2 maybe knew Grogu back in I think almost definitely, right? Back in the old days. And then met Yoda. I mean, I guess, did R2 already know Yoda too then? Because if so, then when they met up in Dagobah, like they already knew each other.
Yeah, that's a good point. That was, again, well, I mean, it has turned into a very nice part of the story, but R2 and C-3PO showing up in the prequels breaks so many parts of canon.
It's fine because we don't understand R2, so obviously nobody else does. Except they talk to him and respond to him.
Right. 3PO gets wiped all the time, though.
Right, that's true.
To me, R2 is the memory of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
He is the archive.
Yeah. He's been in every part of the timeline at this point, I believe. And he's the only character I think that's true of.
Yeah, I mean, 3PO is ostensibly around right now, right? But,
Chewie.
Oh, yeah, Chewie's around in the Clone Wars, at least, and in the... There's Wookiees in the Senate, right? In Phantom Menace,
but we don't see him at all.
Right.
Yeah, he's alive now.
What we do in the series, right?
Oh yeah, a little bit. That's true.
I had messaged Paul because of the.
Oh, that would have been the worst spoiler.
I know. I messaged Paul because I figured he had already seen it when I started the episode, and I was like, "Is that C-3PO in the thumbnail? Because that is the worst." Idea, like if that was supposed to be a surprise that he was a guest, like going to show up in this episode, why did they put him in the thumbnail? And then at the end, it's like I couldn't have gotten any closer. If it being
when you said that, I was like, oh man, it's definitely not C-3PO.
But
it's
super
like an
high.
Imperial inventory. Yeah, I was like, what's so close?
Yeah,
and then it's just R2. So I was like, if I would have just thought maybe R2-D2's with him or something, and then they're in this episode, but I had no idea what I was talking about. But kind of did. I was very close.
I did figure out the best way to break the Disney attempt to spoil you on every episode with their awful like episode summaries on the main screen. Yeah. If you just start the last episode and start like watching like the last 20 seconds or so, it'll just start auto playing the next episode without ever showing you all that stuff. So
it doesn't show the pre-roll. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
It'll show the pre-roll, but it won't show you that screen where it's like 4 sentences.
I get it. Yeah. But then you can pause it and skip ahead to the credits or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. The spoilers. Oh man, like.
Oh yeah, I mean, we saw Bo-Katan in the spoilers. I was like, oh okay, so she's coming back.
Right.
I got spoiled by a notification on my phone that was like, Mark Hamill reacts to that last episode. I was like, mother!
Oh my god,
that's horrible.
I was so mad.
I saw somebody tweet, so Luke Skywalker is pretty OP, right? And he said, not a spoiler, but Luke said, I'm like, that's a spoiler. Like, you're talking about it now.
Which, by the way,
I want to Simu Liu.
I want to take a quick moment to give a huge shout out to our fans. Me, Ashley, and Jeff, and Matt Carroll had all been talking about how to put in a better spoiler policy for the Stranded Panda Podcast Network and our Facebook group, in part, especially because of The Mandalorian, because, the show launches at midnight, and some people can't watch it until the next night. And we just announced it yesterday. And as far as I can tell, like, a whole bunch of people commented, but every single person did the proper thing about nesting their comments. I think I saw maybe one comment that wasn't done right, but
there's some images, and you can't nest images for whatever reason.
Yeah, but I was very proud of everybody.
You'd have to click on the comment. Yeah, everyone did just such a huge job. So, our fans are amazing, but that especially, like, I'm just so proud to be part of this network. So, thank you for that.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Speaking of OP Luke, I do have a couple questions, though, because as far as I know, which is not a lot, I didn't think that the Jedi's force crushed things. Is it because it was a droid that was okay, or is that a little bit of dark side power?
I mean, I think Go ahead.
I was going to say, Luke definitely flirts with the dark side.
That's what I thought. Like, he's kind of like on the line.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like, he's dressed all in black, and... I always dress all in black. But that's just a certain kind of,
what his daddy does.
He's going for a little bit of menace,
Goth does not mean evil, okay? We have fought that battle since I was in high school.
Yeah.
No, but it's often like there's sort of a...
I mean, the man in black is literally the definition of a bad guy. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, but not even just that. It's like, it's beyond a bad guy. It's like there's just a certain kind of menace and a certain... There's something to it, yeah. Right. But I mean, more so, it's him force choking people in Return of the Jedi,
Yeah.
And I think the plot of the end of Return of the Jedi is like, will Luke turn to the dark side, right? And honestly, before The Last Jedi came out, I was like, what if Luke's the villain? Like, what if Luke's the villain? Like, that could have happened, that would have been different, very different, very different movie. But, I mean, yeah, it's a robot. It's like, okay, so droids, I mean, we could get deep into droids and sort of what level of, are they sentient droids? Are they, are they basically just directly following instructions? How much is there thought going on in there? Are they self-aware? They don't feel that way, but maybe they are, right? We don't know. Right. But, he's destroying all of them. So, like, force crushing compared to cutting them in half with a lightsaber,
And certainly, in the TV show The Clone Wars, we saw all of the Jedi just slaughtering droids with every possible way they could. Mm-hmm. Often in, like, if there's any sentience to them, pretty cruel, torturous, like, to be funny ways. Yeah. Anakin definitely, like, shows off to Ahsoka by different ridiculous ways he can kill. There's at one point where a number of the Jedi, and at first it's Anakin and Ahsoka, but then one of like the old respected Jedi Masters gets in on it, have a competition of which can kill more droids in an episode.
Right.
So
it's a very Gimli and Legolas moment.
Yeah, Anakin's not the best example of the Jedi. You should.
I mean, also true. Also true. So what do you guys think of the Dark Troopers, though? I thought, I was just so impressed by how menacing they made them.
The dubstep troopers, they were they were awesome.
The dubstep troopers.
Yeah.
I was like, Dark Trooper dubstep is the only music now. Like, I was real big into Mongolian, metal of the Who with Wolf Totem and the throat singing and all that. Like, I was really, really big into that. But now it's Ludwig Göransson with Dark Trooper dubstep.
You found your new love?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, we need to download that track for our Beat Saber game.
Yeah. Oh my God, I so need that.
Crush it.
Well, and just the way that they did so many things of, just the shots of their eyes turning on and like the scenes of them punching through the walls. I wondered how they were going to make it so that Mando could fight just one of them. And I thought that idea of like one of them getting through the doors, like, it was a little contrived, but it really worked, and it gave us such a good fight scene there.
Yeah.
I mean, dangerous doors, so I feel like they've at least set up doors slamming shut, and, hey, these are, I mean, like, they feel really terrifying, right? They're the only thing that doesn't just fall apart every time it gets hit once in the whole world, basically.
The whole Star Wars canon.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
And I mean, when he lights it up with the flamethrower, they look awesome on fire. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, flame dark trooper.
Right? Like, I really liked the music there. It was so different. Mm-hmm. And I when they went out the airlock, I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. I bet they're gonna come back later.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're not suffocating in space. You know?
Yeah, I was like, you just infected the universe, man.
Exactly. And when they're like, the whatever's been breached, how many life forms? 0.
Oh, that was
like,
such a good line. I got such shivers when they said that.
But I do have one thing that was actually bothering me a lot the first time I saw the episode. After knowing how it all turned out, it didn't bother me so much. But, like, why wasn't anyone asking if they had an off switch?
Right?
Someone's like, Moff Gideon, turn these things off, or I'm going to cut your pinky off, and then your ring finger, and then your middle finger.
I would have tied him to the front. I would be like, all right, I'm in front. Somebody get some rope. Tie him right in front of me, and everybody stand in a line. Let's see what happens. Let's test your theory.
Torture doesn't work.
Not torture, but if they're not going to shoot him.
This is not the way. They're not Jedi, though. So,
and torture is very much the Mandalorian way, even if it doesn't work.
Very much. So that crowd torture is definitely the way.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say. I'm not advocating for it in real life, okay? Yeah. I love when my fiction doesn't go there and talks about how it's really the threat that's more effective than the execution, yada, yada, yada. I'm just saying that collection of characters, this is the way.
They torture.
Yeah. I did feel a little... I wanted something a little bit more in terms of the dark troopers, because it felt like we fought one of them and then it was kind of unsatisfying. And then when they all came back, like, yes, having the Jedi rescue them was amazing. And I think you're right. Like, Luke is so OP that of course he should just chop through them like butter. Yeah. I think I would have liked to have a little bit more of, like, all of our heroes fighting them, and losing. And maybe, like, taking one or two of them out, but, like, just to see a little bit more of that before the Jedi, because I felt like we fought one of them one-on-one, and then we got someone just, rolling through them like butter. We didn't get more of some middle ground between those two.
No, it was perfect.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with it.
No,
I was cool with what they did, but they missed the opportunity to have the next season be like, I now have to go around the galaxy mopping up dark troopers that I unleashed upon the galaxy because this is my responsibility. Oops.
That would have actually been a pretty funny plot, I think.
I also did love the moment of the dark trooper using this incredible punch to hit the Beskar helmet and nothing happening.
I know. Oh yeah.
It was. I just had this moment of
the
unstoppable
into the wall.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
It felt a little like Steve and Bucky like pounding the crap out of each other in The Winter Soldier to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I mean, because here's the thing. Like, stormtroopers are supposed to be these really elite soldiers, right? Who, I mean, maybe not elite soldiers, but compared to just like an ordinary person on the street, like, they're just going to be able to cut through 20, 50, 100 ordinary people, right?
Only stormtroopers are so accurate.
Right, exactly. But then you have... our heroes, this squad that the stormtroopers are like butter to them. They're just like, yeah, we're just cutting through them. We've got a little bit of, my gun's jammed. And like, there's, some fancy martial arts, some fancy shooting, some ducking, some jetpack parkour. I think we're going to circle back to that in a little bit.
My favorite term.
But like, the stormtroopers are like nothing to them, kind of, right? And then the dark troopers, like, one-on-one, that's a serious problem. Mm-hmm. And so this whole pack of, this whole platoon of dark troopers is like, to me, the end was a horror movie, right? Because
it was.
You've got Gideon sitting there just like giddy with like, oh, they're going to kill you all. And just me and the child are going to be alive. It's going to be great. You're all going to be dead. And like,
and the doors like slowly being punched through and all them just waiting.
That's like so horror movie, right?
Yeah. It gave me serious Terminator 1 vibes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good way
Terminator 1, but there's like 40 Terminators, right? There's 40 Arnolds.
They wouldn't have lasted very long.
No. But then, like, right, exactly. Like, they would have maybe taken a few out, right? But, like, not a bunch. Because they, you know, with the Beskar armor, like, yeah, Mando could face off against one and then somehow get his Highlander spear out of nowhere. And
I did wonder where that was going. Maybe it folds up. Who knows?
Exactly. It must fold up. But then Luke shows up and it's like, yeah, you're all like stormtroopers to me. You know?
Yeah, for real.
It was like them sending those TIE fighters out to help the ship. I was like, oh, they don't really want to help them, apparently.
Right, exactly.
Send the TIE fighters. Man. But why?
Yeah, the way that the TIE fighters got shot out like an electromagnet, almost like a railgun.
Yeah.
Like, that was so freaking cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
that
totally.
Was so cool.
The angles there were so good too. The camera angles and the whole visual look of that. And
the TIE fighters like dropping out of the hangar and then going down that one long chute. Like, it was just so perfectly done.
Mm-hmm.
The cinematography.
That was masterful cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
And it was
throughout
nice
the whole episode.
For whatever reason, like there's that one moment in Empire Strikes Back where they use the ion cannon to disable Star Destroyer. I had that toy of like the round thing with a little cannon sticking out of it. And I just have always been fascinated by that weapon. And in a lot of the video games, you can always use an ion cannon. So I always loved getting to use it. And I loved getting to see it again be used as a very important plot thing of like, how do you disable a vehicle without destroying it if you want to get someone who's on board?
Right. How do you capture a vehicle in a space battle?
Right.
Yeah. They crushed with the continuity in this season. And I don't even know a lot of it, but I know that they were doing something right.
Yeah.
Because I recognized the ships from episode 2 or the weapons. And I'm like, oh, that blue thing. I love that.
Exactly.
And it makes a noise that very pleasing to my ears in the other episode.
For sure. Let's chat for a minute about that very opening scene because the two Imperials are trying to escape with the scientist. One of them's like, okay, well, let's just surrender. He gets shot.
No.
And you mean the part where Nathaniel Malak got himself killed?
Yeah. Here's my question: If you're in a standoff with someone and you don't want them to shoot because you're saying you'll shoot the doctor first, how does trash talking them about how mwahaha I destroyed your whole planet, I was on the Death Star, help? What's the end game of that particular strategy? Because I'm not seeing it.
I don't know, because that's the guy who said, I don't have a death wish. Like, I rewatched it several times to make sure that was the guy who said it, because I figured it would be the other guy, but it wasn't. It was that guy. He's like, I don't have a death wish, but I kind of do, so I'm going to babble my ass off. Like, apparently this is something they teach in the Imperial Academy, right? Like,
just be overly cocky. They'll back down.
2 episodes. Right, exactly. Just keep talking at them until they shoot you.
Yeah.
It always works. I've always seen the Imperial pilots wearing helmets. Like, that was a plot point somewhere. I think maybe in Rebels, right? Mm-hmm. But so it was odd to see these two without their helmets on. But I guess these are post-Imperials. So maybe they're like, we don't need to keep the do we have to keep the helmets on? No. And, like, clearly one of them was, like, a true believer, and the other was like, I just need the job.
Yeah.
I just need a paycheck.
Poor guy.
And then he gets shot, like, in the back of the neck, and he's almost like, ow! Ah!
Yeah, I didn't understand him making those noises. He was like, ah, 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 and then dies.
I know.
I love a comical death.
Did you guys notice that the doctor, like, when Cara Dune shot the guy in the face, she shot, like, a part of the doctor's ear off? Like his ear had a notch taken out of it.
Oh, really?
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that, but he did seem to not be thrilled about that outcome. But not dead.
He sure helped them.
Wasn't too hard to flip. Yeah.
Do you know what happened to him?
We don't.
I think he was on a ship with Boba Fett, right?
Maybe. I mean, I think he's probably a prisoner of the New Republic now, but maybe he's Boba Fett's prisoner. And he's going to do science on Tatooine? I don't know.
I hope so.
I mean, maybe they dropped him off in between those 2 missions. That's certainly possible.
Yeah, we didn't see. Yeah.
I kind of wish Boba Fett had come back.
Right. I was kind of surprised he didn't.
Yeah. It's not like those TIE fighters were chasing him. Like, they weren't a problem.
Right, it's like he's just like, peace. All right, I did my part.
Right. I mean, he must have.
Bye.
He must have because he reconnects with Fennec.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, yeah.
But come back to the fight. They need you.
Right. Exactly.
I would have loved. Let's now talk about Mandalorians and their rules because I think in terms of like figuring out who is like the right Mandalorian, I've kind of loved having Boba Fett there as the guy who's just like, it's my dad's armor. I wear my dad's armor. I don't,
He's like, I don't see what the big deal is.
Yeah, Boba Fett at one point is like, Bo-Katan is like, you're not a real Mandalorian. He's like, I never said I was.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the Uncle Buck of the Mandalorians.
How great would it have been if during that confrontation between Bo-Katan and Gideon and Jin, when Jin's like, just take the saber, and Gideon is so happy about like, nope, you two have to fight. I would have just loved to see Boba Fett being like, wow, my people are stupid. This is so dumb.
I was so mad. I was like, well, just figure, like, victory. That's a pretty big, like, an open word. Does it have to be combat? Can it be a foot race? Can you play checkers? Like, what do you mean?
You got to beat him in Sabak.
I want it off you fair and square.
I wanted the last scene to be him turning around and her being like, Din Djarin, you and I have unfinished business. Bum, 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 bum.
I mean, I think that's going to be season 3.
Right.
But does it have to be that?
I think season 3 is going to be a growing tension between the two of them. And then probably Din Djarin coming into it going, you know what? Maybe I should be in charge.
Right.
Well, and an awful lot of both the Clone Wars and Rebels was, like, the reason we kept going back to Mandalore was that there kept being these civil wars on Mandalore. Mm-hmm. And the Jedi kept being like, guys, do we have to go rescue you again? Really?
They're us. They're
so
America.
I would kind of love to see the New Republic have to be like, wait, we're fighting the Empire. Now there's this crazy criminal lord on Tatooine doing crap, and you Mandalorians are fighting with each other again? Like, go to your room. Like, I just can imagine, like, that tying into the Rangers of the New Republic story so well.
Can we talk about the ladies for a minute?
Go for it.
I really loved, like, let the women do the work for that first, like, 15 minutes. Even, like, Cara Dune with her gun and our second blaster malfunction of the season. I was just, like, really, really loving. The cinematography was good. The way that they were all fighting together, or just the jetpacks jumping off the bridge, coming around, like, they crushed it.
When did Cara Dune have a gun? Or rather, when did Cara Dune have a blaster?
I don't know what that thing's called.
She had two. She had a blaster, and then she had the heavy, like, repeating thing.
I meant the Gatling blaster?
Like what the heavy artillery guy from season 1 Mando had.
Oh, yeah. It also looks like in Clone Wars, right? Heavy, I think?
Yeah.
Has something like that?
I think that's right.
I'm not certain it's heavy, but I feel like it is because it's a heavy gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just pointing. Yeah. I was poking at the fact that she said my gun jammed. It's like, okay, but like every other piece of this cannon, they're called blasters.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine that if it was
my blaster jammed.
How does a blaster?
How does an energy weapon jam?
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. But apparently they do.
If I gotta explain all the times my computer or my phone did something weird that made no sense, I'm
good point.
I'm fine with all of technology just not making sense.
Okay, my computer jammed.
She just really needed to turn the gun off and turn it back on.
Yeah. I gotta change my babes with blasters thing now. If that wasn't a blaster, because that was my theme for them. I'm like, look at all these babes with blasters. This is awesome.
But you're right. Those were such good scenes, and allows us to bring in what's become my new favorite phrase to use: jetpack parkour. Because that was what I said the first time we saw it. Like and it was, I forget her name, but Bo-Katan's helper,
Casca Reeves,
Sasha Banks.
Thank you. Yeah,
the actress is Sasha Banks, right?
When she uses she uses the jetpack for like half a second as part of a combat move.
Exactly.
I was so happy, and then they do it again with in the fight against the stormtroopers. Like,
it's so good the way they use it against the stormtroopers, just going off the bridge.
Like,
we're gonna totally flank anybody who comes.
Oh, I loved it.
They're not gonna see it.
It was just such. I feel like often when we see people have great technology, a lot of times we're like, okay, but why don't you use it this way? Why don't you use it that way? And here they did it, like the jetpack is such a good combat weapon when you use it that way. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And like we haven't seen the jetpack really be used like that in the rest of the series because like Din Djarin is still like I feel like he's still learning how to properly use it in like a real and
he was never trained
way.
In it, right?
Right, and the armorer told him like, this is something you're gonna have to practice with. Like, it's a really powerful tool. And he was like, yeah, okay, sure, but like I took down a TIE fighter.
Right.
He hasn't fully learned it, but also all the other Mandos we saw in season 1 never really got that good with it, which makes sense because they're all part of the same like Mandalorian offshoot that Jin is, whereas like Bo-Katan and her people, like they're the real deal. So of course they would know this the best.
Yeah, they've been using it in battle for decades, right? And they trained, with probably some of the best teachers. And it would be really nice to see Din maybe learning from them, right? Like them teaching him, like, hey, here's how you get the most out of your jetpack. But first I'm going to beat you in battle so that I can take this Darksaber or something.
Right. They should have a parkour battle because he's not going to win that.
Yeah, just like a race.
Yeah.
Like a parkour, like a race.
Yeah. Like American Gladiators or something.
I would wager a large amount of money that somewhere is being developed the next Star Wars video game, which will be a RPG type, you're playing a character, and that Mandalorians are one of the options, or maybe it'll be like a Star Wars combat game, whatever. But they are trying to figure out
Mandalorian's Creed. This is the way.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out how to do that. Like, you press the B button to get like a quick jetpack burst. That video game is happening 100%.
I think so. I did want to comment
Creed.
On the right, exactly.
Yeah.
I did want to comment on the sort of it's not even a scene. It's like a sequence, or really an extended sequence, but of these 4 badass women taking the bridge. It reminded me of that scene in Endgame and the scene in Infinity War where, you have like all of these badass female characters. Like in the Marvel movies though, it feels like it's this deliberate like, hey, look, we've got all these characters and we're gonna kind of like put it in your face. And I enjoyed it there, but here it feels so natural. It's like they've just developed a number of characters, and these are the 4 who made sense to be in this scene.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to double down with you on that, because I did not like what they did in Endgame, and I thought this was perfect and natural.
Because here it was just like they had developed all of these characters as, very important characters in this series. They're the ones who made sense to be doing the things they were doing. It made sense that Boba Fett was playing his role. I kind of feel like he probably should have come back at some point. Din was like, I want to go and get the child myself. And Bo-Katan's like, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And she basically plots the assault, which makes sense because she's been a military commander for decades.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that she's the strategic one. Like, that was so perfect.
It was perfect. And it because there's just so many movies where it's like, it's like good, and you've got this, this important female character who's like badass, but then the moment to like decide what to do comes up, and she's like, "What do we do?" Like turning to the man or whatever. And it's like, and here it's like, no, she's the one who's like, "This is what we're gonna do because this is my jam."
Yes.
And having the 4 of them, right? This is my way. This is the way. Like, and it just felt so natural and organic, and the way that basically at points in the future, 10 years from now, there should be a lot of scenes like this or sequences like this, and we shouldn't notice them, right? To me, that's like, that would ultimately be the goal, right? Is that like, it's just so natural that it's like, yeah, of course you're going to have scenes like that, and you're going to have scenes that aren't like that. But here, it just felt so natural and organic through not just this episode, but the way the seasons have progressed to get to this point. I just thought that was great.
Me too.
I honestly didn't realize that it was just a bunch of female characters that went in there until Ashley said in the chat, like, let the women do the work, get it, girls. I was like, what?
Clean house ladies. Yeah, it was.
Oh, shit. Yeah, she's right.
I think the best way to say it is that scene in the Marvel movies, it felt contrived to me, but it felt contrived for a very good reason. And actually, I think from what I've heard, like a lot of people loved it, a lot of people didn't. And I was like, okay, but it's worth it. I thought it was worth having it. And I get that it was a little bit contrived. This didn't feel contrived at all. This felt like they had done, because part of what that felt like to me was Marvel hadn't done the work to set that up in such a way that they could do it without it feeling contrived the way this show has.
And all I have to say about it is it's like, don't have it be Captain Marvel that these women are coming to help, because she doesn't need their help. That's just, of all the women that doesn't need it, she does
not need their help.
Exactly.
Right. It's like nobody needed to come out and help Luke destroy all the stormtroopers.
Let Pepper catch the gauntlet and then be like, okay, she's not alone. She has all of us. That makes sense. But Captain Marvel doesn't need your help, ladies. Sit down.
She literally just flew through all of the shit.
Yeah.
Like she's so OP.
Yeah.
Like that's like she doesn't need all y'all. Like. But yeah, Marvel hadn't put in the work, right? It's like that was the one female title character, and the Wasp, I guess. Oh no, that was the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp was before that, right? So you had like 1.5 title characters basically, and a whole bunch of secondary characters, which it's like it's better that they're there than they're not there.
Yeah.
But it did feel a little bit like a stretch within the context of that movie. Here, they put in the work to develop these characters, to have these all be important characters who it made sense that they were all here at this point.
Yeah.
Right?
Because, where was everybody else on the battlefield? I don't want to stay too close on it. I don't want to keep going. But, where was everybody else on the battlefield in Endgame? How did all of you get together? I thought Infinity War did it perfectly. And this one did it even better than that.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, it was the right thing in the wrong way. This is the way.
This is totally the way.
Yes.
So
you gotta do the work.
Let's talk about that end scene. The post credits. King Boba Fett on the throne. How are we feeling about it?
Was that somebody Fortuna? BB Fortuna?
Bib Fortuna.
Okay.
Noticeably heavier.
There's one thing I want to.
Who had been Jabba's second in command?
Yes, definitely. So much heavier that I was like, is he going to turn into a Jabba? Like, are they the same species?
Ken was like, is that Jabba before he got fat? I was like, what?
Right.
What'd you say? Even I know the answer to that.
Jeff, what were you going to say?
Oh, there's one thing that I want to say about Boba, just because it's funny. Just like Boba to dip out right at the beginning of the last episode of a series.
You're so right.
Yep. And I thought it was also good because, this show started by telling you that its hero was not a hero. He was a workaday guy who did dirty work sometimes to get paid. And we saw him become more heroic, and he kind of roped all these people into being more heroic. And by the end, it was kind of like a good guy crew. And so I love that we end with, Boba and Fennec being like, cool, we helped you. Now we're going to go back to doing bad guy shit. And
I loved it.
Because at first I was like, oh yeah, Boba's so... No, wait, Boba ended on good terms with, he wasn't mad at anyone. This isn't some revenge thing. He's just like, oh, cool, I can go back to that planet and take power. Done.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just going to settle some old scores, basically.
Yeah. And Fennec's like, cool, I'll hang with you.
It's so funny, the thing, the way that there's a particular way you can look at it. This was a workaday guy, but he brought in all these people to help him, and everybody became more heroic. But it was really that he had a child that changed him. Becoming a father really changes you, and you got to build out your support network, right?
Yeah.
And he finally found daycare, full-time daycare.
He finally got daycare
on Jedi Island.
And
exactly.
It was established in episode 7, 8 that he can FaceTime from daycare and it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, I think that's how we'll keep the cuteness of Baby Yoda. Is he'll get a video chat postcard every now and then, or he'll just kind of call the summer camp and be like, how you doing? And the baby will be super cute and everybody will be happy, and then we can go on with our lives.
If they intercut scenes the way they do in Dagobah in Empire Strikes Back, that would make the season 3 for me. I don't think they'll do that because I don't think they want to use that much Luke.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive,
probably. And I think if they do that, eventually, if you follow Grogu's story, eventually you have to explain, did Kylo Ren kill Grogu? Which I think is probably what has to happen for the story to make sense. Or he disappears from the way. And
that is
not
dark.
Here for that.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, that's kind of why I'm happy to have just
it's not a discussion I'm ready to have.
Yeah, like, that's when, like, don't give us more of that. Like, just, you know.
He killed all of them, or did he leave with some of them?
The Knights of Ren,
who
get mentioned but not discussed, he turns them to the dark side with him.
Okay.
Wait, they're all Force users?
I think that's the implication.
But they don't have lightsabers?
So this is a shocking thing, but this is one story element from the postquels that they don't actually make consistent sense over the 3 movies.
Really?
Shocking.
I know.
Really? That's so uncharacteristic of those 3 movies.
Yeah, I believe from a novelization, it's talked about that the Knights of Ren, at least some of them, are the people who Kylo turned and who left.
Right. Left the Jedi Academy.
But it
makes less sense that they turn on him now.
Oh, on Kylo?
Yeah, right?
Oh, when he kills Snoke, you mean?
Yeah. No, not Snoke. I thought, wasn't that his little group who turned on him at the end with Palpatine?
Yeah, but I mean, like, they're, you know, you're going to hop to the higher power, you know?
Yeah.
But they're not Sith, and he's not Sith. You know what? Let's not get into
okay, fair.
What I will do is I will agree that I do think the farther we go down this timeline, the more difficult it's going to be to rectify whatever happens in the post-quel trilogy with whatever's happening here. And honestly, the thing I loved about this episode and this season, minus a few, you know, mistreatments of animals and culinary choices.
Fair.
I was okay with the macarons. That's fine. But
that poor kid, he has macarons stolen.
I know.
His mom probably made. No, actually, they're store bought, but still.
His mom probably made them.
From Williams Sonoma. Clearly, that kid is loaded. They're going to be fine.
Yeah, it's like $60 for a box of 12.
He's got another 50 tubes in the pantry at home.
Exactly. They won't even know. But the thing that I loved so much about this season of this show, and to an extent last season, but especially this season, is it feels so much like what I wanted to see after the original trilogy, right? And there's 2 other trilogies that apparently are what some other people wanted to see. Although I think more it's like the prequel trilogy, some people really love, some people mostly don't love. So people are more split on that whole trilogy. And then the sequel trilogy is more like some people like 7 and 9, some people like 8. I enjoyed 7 the most and have different issues with 8 and 9. But like, you know, it's like I'm happy that those exist for people who enjoy those, right? That's great. But like that's not what I wanted out of the future of Star Wars. And this is. And I didn't even know that I wanted it anymore because so many of the things that I'd seen were disappointing to me in terms of, like, I could go for a long rant on the post-quel trilogies and why I feel like there are complaints about them that are very different from, like, complaints of the Ghostbusters reboot, right? But, like, I really love the characters introduced, but having the characters from the original stories and then, like, killing them all off, except for Lando, I guess, and Chewie, that's not something I ever wanted to see, you know? And here, like, seeing Luke come back and, like, having this story that just really being invested in it, being invested in Din and Grogu and Cara and Fennec and Bo-Katan, although I think she's a terrible leader and we could get to that later. But, like, but like, really being invested in this story locally and then having, like, Luke literally fly in to save the day, like, it felt to me like that's what I wanted to see after Return of the Jedi. And, like, finally getting to see that and experience it, like, almost 40 years later, right? Like, really just meant a lot to me, personally.
I love that.
I'm glad that you brought up the mistreatment of animals. You know, because I'm so glad that they got away from the creature feature.
Yeah,
at the in the beginning of the series.
Yeah,
like
it was
I went back
3 episodes in a row, and then 0 of the last 5.
It was like I went back and watched the first episode of season 1 because I was showing my mom the series.
Oh yeah,
and the like the first thing that you see, after he captures that the accountant guy, is that this like giant walrus thing comes out of the ice and eats the speeder that he had hired, and then it tries to eat the ship, like it tries to eat the Razor Crest, and like he just casually walks out and tases it and it's like, get off my ship, stop it.
Right.
And I was like, is this whole show just a giant creature feature? Have I missed that?
I mean,
because then like he fights the Mudhorn and that becomes his crest.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, did I miss that?
So that's always been a part of Star Wars, and that's something that going back and watching the original movies again sort of reinforced to me that I had kind of forgot, right? But it's like there's I forget what it's called, but like the abominable snowman basically on Hoth,
and the huge asteroid monster.
The giant monster in the asteroid. There's the creature in the garbage, just in the compactor room in the Death Star. Yeah. Like, how did that get in there? And then in Return of the Jedi, there's the Rancor and the Sarlacc. Mm-hmm. So it's like these like megafauna have always been a big part of the Star Wars universe, and I kind of like that because I feel like there should be megafauna, right? Like there should be these giant animals, but the level of focus that it got in the first couple episodes of each season is I guess my least favorite thing in the show, or the one thing in the show maybe even that I really pretty strongly dislike.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. I think for me especially it was I get that Grogu is a toddler, but I didn't enjoy watching him be a jerk. I didn't enjoy. Some of it was a little bit fun. Like the moment with him stealing the macarons from the kid, I think I would have loved that so much more if I hadn't just watched him munch on all this woman's eggs and munch on a spider egg that also got them all killed.
I might not know, but I thought that all that was kind of when Ahsoka was like, he has some dark side in him and he's attached to you. I thought that was kind of like easing us in, like, because how would we ever think that Grogu had any dark side tendencies if we didn't see him do some messed up stuff that is not justifiable?
I mean, because he force choked Cara Dune.
Well, she was.
You don't have to end I agree. I hear the family line of a frog person to be a dark
he
side
didn't. He didn't
user.
End it.
I feel like
he
being
had a few.
We had enough parents.
We
had enough parents write in to tell us like he's being a toddler. That's what toddlers do. Like, I'm not quite sure if that's dark side as much as just like not having like formed much of a like moral compass yet. But
I mean, human toddlers are clearly dark side. What are we talking about here?
They're the worst.
Kids are narcissists.
Oh my goodness.
That's also potentially very true.
I mean,
I just saw giving into like desires or whatever that I don't know.
Yeah,
that's how
a lack of impulse control.
Yeah, impulse control.
A lack of maybe putting the needs of others in front of your impulses is perhaps a thing there.
And I mean, humans do horrible things and they do great things. Mm-hmm. And it's like that the Force is like a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Like for the good in everybody and the the kind of evil, selfishness, whatever in everybody. And it's a little more literal in Star Wars, and it gives you powers or you draw powers from it. But I think I kind of like Grogu being kind of like a little dick, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just like wish it wasn't so much at the expense of like all the other like not
sentient
super
life.
Able to defend themselves. Yeah, exactly. All the sentient life around him that wasn't like a kid in school. Like, okay, you took his cookies, like. That kind of sucks.
So
right?
I wish he would have took the cookies and then he would have went to get him back and then he could have force choked him. That would have been more dark side.
So here
that would have been dark side. We're gonna need your child to not be in our school.
So here's my idea, okay. Like because when you're talking about this like idea of like breaking out of the binary of like good and evil, light and dark side, the Force is much more complex than that.
Right.
Ahsoka kind of embodies that.
Yes.
So we know that like Grogu is going off to be trained. And we don't expect to see Luke that much. What if Ahsoka basically takes on Grogu as kind of her Padawan, as kind of like, and that Grogu that way Grogu stays in the TV shows. We get a moment with Ahsoka and Luke connecting, which is all I want. And we get to see, Ahsoka was 80% of the time we've seen her was as Anakin's Padawan, and getting to see her now train someone else, especially given that she has very negative ideas about the Jedi and really wants to sort of, carve out new ideas. Like, I would love that.
I love it.
Well, if Luke's looking
that's actually
for
a really
other,
solid idea.
Yeah, if he's looking for other Force users, she would have to come on his radar, and Grogu can be like,
he needs
this
a gym
chick.
teacher.
Yeah,
exactly. Dave, John, you heard it here first.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what...
And if they do it, we totally know they're listening.
Yeah, you can make out checks too.
Yeah, pay me my money.
Yeah, right.
Well, so on that
check.
I would just say there's
just one thing inspired by what you just said.
Go for it.
Just before it, what if Grogu's the one who teaches Ben Solo the Force choke?
Oh,
no.
God.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
I don't like
Vetoed.
it.
I like it.
No.
Paul, didn't
Grogu
you just
cannot
say
be the fall of the post?
Yes, Ben Solo doesn't exist. In
Yeah,
the
I love
Star
that
Wars
Paul is
universe.
like, we cannot see the end of the Grogu and Ben Solo story. But what about if we begin it this way? What if we begin it this way?
Yeah.
What if it's more of a team-up thing?
I'd like that show, please.
Yeah, Grogu actually...
He's the one who turns him.
Grogu grows up to
He
be
was
Snoke.
actually the beginning of the Knights of Ren.
Nice.
You didn't see him because he was behind one of them in the shot in the rain.
Just on the subject of Grogu, and kind of what you were saying a moment ago, Paul, I feel the same way. I feel like so many of the things that I wanted this gave to me. Like, I kept saying, like, what's Luke doing?
Yeah.
We saw that. We kept saying, like, how is this all going to work together? How does Mando feel? How does Jin feel about everything he's learning about the Mandalorians? We got that.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think I would have liked to see this season, and I'm a little disappointed we didn't, is I feel like they nerfed Grogu so hard this season.
Oh, word.
And I would have liked, and I get that maybe they thought like last season he was a little too OP or that it was too much of the story. And again, they wanted us to get ready for Mando without Grogu. So they didn't want like Deus Ex Grogu fixing everything.
Right.
But this time especially, like, if he's ever going to use his Force powers this season for some real good, I would have loved to see him be maybe like Gideon's about to give Jin the death blow and Grogu pulls him back, just some moment like that.
Force chokes Gideon.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. I was like, you can pass out now, little buddy. We don't need your help after this. Just push him
Exactly.
against
Just
the wall and let's move on with our day.
Oh man,
I totally agree.
What if Din jumps in front of the blaster fire, and then we get Grogu jumping up on top of him, like, very Yoda style, like bounds up on top of him, and then just like does the crush, but on Gideon, and then just breaks his neck right there.
Oh, I would have loved that.
There's your dark side.
Yeah.
There's your dark side.
And Luke would have been like, oh, little buddy, we got our work cut out, don't we?
Yeah, all right, we're going back to remedial lessons. You're not going the way Dad did.
I was even really happy to get the John Williams theme. Like, I'm a sucker for every time they play the theme music, and it's just not in there. And when Luke was there, they played it at the end. I was like, oh yes.
Well, Luke was there and they played it, right? And when he's saying like, come little one, and then Grogu turns to Mando and is like basically kind of like asking him permission, but he doesn't have words. And I think then they started playing more like the Mandalorian theme.
They did, yeah. They
like
transitioned really nicely from one to the other.
It was awesome. It was like the music carried them from like one character to the next. And it was just so well done. The working in the original John Williams themes, and then the new Mandalorian themes, and then of course the Dark Trooper dubstep.
Yes. Oh, good. It's so good.
It reminded me a lot of the when Ahsoka showed up and they brought some of the original Force music in under Ahsoka, but in a very subtle way.
It was like the Dagobah theme.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I will also say, if you're really into Star Wars music, then an important part of the Star Wars holiday special, forgive me for a small spoiler, is B. Arthur singing in the cantina in Tatooine.
Wait, what? Come on. You know how I feel about spoilers, and you know how I feel about B. Arthur. Wait, do you?
I know you like Golden Girls.
The Golden Girls was my original Kim's Convenience.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Like, show that I watched so many times over and over while going to sleep. Like, it's just like this comfortable show for me.
That's awesome. Well, there's a good reason for you to tune in.
All right, I'll definitely watch that.
So I don't want to go too much longer, especially because I want to edit this to have it up by tomorrow morning. But let's make some predictions. What do we think is going to happen with some of these plots that are still there to be developed?
Bo-Katan and Mando are going to have a foot race for the Darksaber.
No jetpacks
obviously
allowed.
Their relationship is going to be strained. Mm-hmm. I think that on the Ahsoka show, she's going to deal with Thrawn in a big way, and that's gonna ping the radar of Luke, and I feel like Luke is gonna try to convince her to come be a teacher at this new school, and she's like, I've seen what happened to the Jedi before, and he's like, no, this is different, and I think she's gonna end the series or end the season, accepting the position there, and then it's going to progress to where she steals Grogu away while things are being set on fire.
Oh, I like that.
Probably.
Or maybe even just maybe she's one of the first ones who sees Ben becoming Kylo and like doesn't have the heart. Like she knows Luke can't see it.
So she walks away again, and then somebody turns to the dark side after she walks away.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
It's because you keep leaving.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think let's just keep the door. Like, we keep saying let's keep the like Ben Solo and Grogu meeting door firmly closed, and then keep being like, oh, but let's just peek under the door for just a second. Like, no, close it.
You don't want to see what's back there.
I do.
It would be really great though. I think it'd be really great though for her to be the one that takes him away from there, because she's the one that revealed to us that he was in the academy on Coruscant, and she's the one that said somebody took him away from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that would be really great, or even better. Oh my lord, if she got R2 to take him away, and R2 actually was the one that took him away. Oh, you get to rescue him again. Oh.
I mean, I'm trying hard not to give too many spoilers for Clone Wars and Rebels. That doesn't quite... I think you'd have trouble fitting that in with the established canon we have for her, but certainly possible. Like, there's...
For what, Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Wait, this is a prediction for the future, isn't it?
No, I thought, Jeff,
He was saying that R2 might have rescued Grogu.
Right, but I think you were saying that, like, that Ahsoka might have convinced R2 to do that.
No, in the future, right?
No, yeah, in the next time. She's
okay. I thought you were saying like in the past.
She sees Ben.
No.
Yeah, she sees Ben Swolo doing his thing, and she's like, "Oh shit!" Yeah, and then she like stuffs Grogu into R2. Is like, "Get him out of here! Go! I'll hold him off."
That's a distinct possibility. I mean, that might be. You were saying, Paul, about how you didn't get the Return of the Jedi sequel that you wanted. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way, although you and I had different parts that we objected to. Like, I have no objection to Luke dying or to Leia dying. I thought there were a lot of things, especially in Last Jedi, that really worked. But what I wanted, I've talked about this a few times before, so I'll be very brief, is I like knowing what happens after the rebellion wins. I like seeing all the difficulty of trying to rule. You know, like King George says in Hamilton, like, winning the revolution, like, sure, but now what do you do next? And I felt like Force Awakens completely abandoned that by just destroying the Republic and going right back to there being a rebellion, a resistance.
Yeah.
I would love it if maybe in one of these shows, but especially maybe like one of the next trilogies will be about this time. And that's, it might well be that Thrawn is like introduced in a TV show and then gets one of the sets of new movies. I don't know. I do think that the Mando Bo-Katan, I think we're really going to wind up diving deep into what is the meaning of being a Mandalorian. And that's so tied up in like the Way and Death Watch and do you keep your helmet on? Like, I think we're going to really go deep on exploring those questions.
Yeah, I think for sure. I think there's going to be a very heavy Mandalorian theme to season 3. Mm-hmm. I think him being called the Mandalorian, like kind of all the way along and it being called that, as a show, I think him having the Darksaber, I don't think is just this inconvenience like, I think there's some possibility that he will get to a point where he's like, yeah, why shouldn't I lead the Mandalorians? Right. You know, like, why should it be this person just because of whatever her particular background was? Like, she led the Mandalorians twice, right?
Yeah, and
didn't work out so well. Yeah. Didn't, you know, might have made a deal with the Sith Lord. You know, she had the Darksaber, but she didn't win it the first time. It was basically given to her, right? Maybe that's why she won't just take it, because she's like, yeah, last time it didn't work out so well.
I think she won it in some like technical way, but I need to go back and rewatch those episodes.
I'm pretty, yeah. I mean, we can sort of table that for the Mandalorian episode about the Mandalore episode, but
we'll definitely watch those episodes again before then.
Yeah, she was kind of like. It was like, yeah, you won it, totally. Like, we used your plan, so here. Oh, okay. You know, she didn't win it, like, in one-on-one combat. Right. Like, that's for sure, right? Mm-hmm. You know, also her whole, like, you're a clone thing. Like, I thought that was a great line. I've heard your voice 1,000 times, right? I thought it was a great line, but it's very bigoted, you know? It's very anti-clone.
It is, but it's also, like... You know, I've seen stories of, like, you know, Americans who fought against the Japanese in the 50s and 60s, like, having these incredibly racist attitudes, and they're in no way justified. They're bigoted and awful, but they're also 100% what often comes out of war. And so I feel like
that's why I think it's a great line. Yeah. It's totally understandable. It reinforces her character. It helps define her character. But that doesn't make her not bigoted, right?
Yeah, I mean,
true.
She needs therapy, not a throne.
I chose that example. I chose that example intentionally because I think in both cases, like, there was an awful lot of racism about how the Japanese were seen as, like, not, you know, the same as, like, other humans, and the clones definitely. There's that exact same thing.
For sure, yeah. I loved how she just like. She was like, you can bring me to him? Like, she was like, I want the Darksaber, you know, you want the child, let's do it. But I do think I think Mando's going to hang on to the Darksaber for a while. I'm concerned he's going to stab himself in the nuts with it. Because, don't point that thing towards yourself. He's handing it to her like hilt, you know, like the way you hand someone scissors or whatever. But, like, if you press one wrong button, you're impaling. Oh, you know what? He's wearing
the
Beskar.
He's got a Beskar cup on under there, you know, just so he can't take it a nut shot.
I feel like. Aren't there some weak points, though, in the armor? Like, does it have a strong codpiece? I don't know. All right.
It is funny. I've thought about this
before.
There are some
parts where it doesn't cover.
The staff looked like it was going to burn in half.
You know,
when he was
in
fighting,
a lot of things like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, they talk about how you fight with practice swords to get started. And, like, there's no such thing as a practice lightsaber to fight with. Like, you're training, and you can easily put someone's eye out. Christmas reference.
Although, I mean, Rebels.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, having actually two people wear Beskar to fight with as they train with lightsabers is actually brilliant.
It's the way to go, for sure.
So, what do you think's going to happen with Boba Fett? What are we going to get in the story of Boba Fett?
I can't believe we're getting another show.
Well, so, is that another show? Is that a book? Like, do we know?
I would hope it's a show.
I think we're pretty sure it's another show. I've seen semi-reliable confirmation.
It's the book.
I don't know what we're going to get from it. I mean, I figure like a crime lord show. No?
That would be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking now and I'm Googling it. There's a number of things
like
that
The
say
Sopranos, but it's Boba Fett.
The Fets.
Like Star Wars Sopranos.
I'd love it.
The Clone Father. The Clone Father Part 2.
The Clone Father.
I mean, one thing that's been established in the rest of canon is that the clones have now been all kicked out of the Imperial Army, but a lot of them are still alive and kicking around and trying to figure out what the world to do with themselves for the last couple of years of their lives. So, like, yeah, actually.
If you could like recruit a clone army, that would be hilarious.
I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
End on Tatooine. So shocking.
Yeah. I mean, that's just our
right.
You know, that's a planet where all this started, and I feel like that's a planet where I think at the end of like when all the Star Wars content is put out, Tatooine will be the planet that we spent the most time on.
Yeah.
Yes. It's the default planet.
Pretty much. Did they ever go back to Tatooine during the postquels? Or Rey does at the very, very end.
Yeah.
Other than that.
Right, yeah. She goes back to Lars and Baru's place, right?
Right, which has been left empty for 30 years.
The Larses, right? That's their last name.
Oh, it's Owen and Baru Lars.
Yeah.
Did we ever go to Tatooine during the post-schools other than that? I don't think we did.
Yeah, but
we went to a lot of planets that looked like it.
Yeah.
Was it
the planet that Rey is on in the beginning looks exactly like Tatooine. We might as well be Tatooine.
That's what I thought.
or something. Is that,
Jakku, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are there planets that have multiple types of terrain?
No.
In the Star Wars galaxy? No, right? There's an ice planet. There's a desert planet. There's a forest moon. Right.
It's like... Got a city planet.
I mean, who knows?
Right, the city planet.
Who knows what Coruscant was until they how are you sustaining an oxygen environment on Coruscant? There are no more trees.
I mean, they have oxygen
they
generators.
Explain that. They have oxygen generators. I mean, that's been covered for a while.
Oh, did they mention that? Okay, I missed that.
Even I know that one.
I didn't know that.
No, it was in. I think it was in one of the books.
Okay, that's awesome.
I mean, I totally read it somewhere.
All right,
you read it.
we are deeply into the we are deeply into the silly time. So, does anyone else have any other kind of last predictions or last comments they want to make?
I would like to see more vehicles with wheels on them in the Star Wars verse. I really appreciated that in episode 7 of season 2.
Oh yeah, it didn't hover.
Yeah, it was the only vehicle that hasn't hovered.
It's hilarious.
Oh my god, that's right.
We didn't even know whether the wheel had been invented, except that R2's got
Jawa fortresses don't hover.
Jawa fortresses don't hover,
right.
And the AT-ATs, like the AT-ATs and the AT-STs, they walk. But yeah, there's no wheels.
Wheels are a new technology in Star Wars.
I mean, it is a long time ago.
In a galaxy far away.
It's funny. There's a series of novels by Orson Scott Card. I think it's by Orson Scott Card. And they're basically like a retelling of the Book of Mormon. But in it, there's this like satellite that won't allow the idea of a wheel to occur in people's brains. Because the idea is that like if you invent the wheel, then that's where like warfare and destruction and death comes from. So it is kind of funny to see these societies be like, we don't need wheels. We can do everything else.
Well, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of ways that people think of to kill each other. And the wheel is just a very small part of that.
I think the idea is that like one village can't fight someone else 500 miles away or whatever it is.
Right.
But who knows?
Boat.
All right.
You can still stab your brother.
I do have a few closing thoughts.
Go for it.
No predictions. Just like very small moments, like one Gideon going so quickly from being so smug and arrogant to just terrified.
Oh, the look on his face.
When he's like, oh, my dark troopers are going to kill you. Wait, what? a jet? What? Oh, this is bad. I'm going to have to shoot myself in the head.
Yeah.
Like, and then like right around the same time,
capsule?
You know, Grogu's ears popping up and being like, it's like, he knows whoever it is. Like, he knows who it is. We don't know who it is.
His little point.
Yes. No. And then him and Din like sitting there literally watching on TV as we're watching on TV. Like Luke just cut through all of the dark troopers. Mm-hmm. It's like...
You love it.
It just felt like this beautiful like mirroring of like our experience. Oop, and there goes my keyboard.
Especially because in this incredibly high-tech universe, they have monochrome security cameras. For some reason,
everybody has CCTV.
Yeah, they have the worst security cameras for something. Like you'd think they'd have like some technology that just like scans everything in the ship and then can like project it in front of you. No, they've just got monochrome security cams. They spent all their budget on the Death Star
and the Dark Troopers.
Yeah,
and the Dark Troopers. Yeah, they're very expensive. And then at the end, it was just this very like first day of school vibes.
Yeah,
of like the parents sending the kid off to school. Which
you saying that about them watching Luke cut through them on TV, or watching Luke cut through the Dark Troopers on TV. Made me think about like Din had the Darksaber still like in his hand at that point. He had not given it back, and then like after seeing what somebody who is like a real lightsaber wielder can do against the things that he had real trouble with, just one of them, like is that going to change his mind about it? Like, maybe I should hold on to this.
Right. And I definitely was thinking the whole time that, like, Mando and Gideon had this kind of epic duel between the two of them of, like, a spear versus the darksaber. And they probably both thought, like, yeah, like, Moff is like, yeah, I know how to use a lightsaber. And then they just watch Luke and are like, oh no, we don't. No. These are toys in our hands. We don't understand how they work. Yeah.
Right. It's like, that's how you use a lightsaber.
Right. I could have put my eye out.
Exactly.
All right. Ashley, any last thoughts?
I'm just very happy. I love all the stuff with the Jedis and getting to see Luke really do that. Like, really just wreck house. I really enjoyed it and use all the powers. And I feel like that was just a little bit of a lightsaber that I needed to make everything perfect for me. So I'm happy.
I feel like I was, in terms of, like, thinking of stories, you often see, like, the arc of the story is the hero's journey and the hero becoming as powerful as they are. And we don't really get to spend much time watching, we spent almost no time getting to see Luke be a Jedi because he becomes a Jedi in that, final confrontation. And we never really see him at the height of his power for very long. And that's very common in movies and TV shows. And so getting to see Luke come back, like, at first I was like, why aren't the troopers fighting back more against him? But then someone pointed out, like, no, he should be OP. Like, that's who his character is right now. And it was just fantastic.
Loved it.
Jeff, and you, any last thoughts or words?
Roll us out, Matthew.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. To you fans, thank you so much. We'd love to hear from you. Wanted to do a quick plug, as we mentioned. There's all sorts of great stuff happening on the Stranded Panda Network right now. We're going to stop this for a couple weeks, as well as Superhero Ethics, but starting next year, everyone who wants to know more about the Clone Wars, we're diving deep into that. We're diving into Rebels. We're diving into the movies and TV show and books. Ashley and I are about to kick off on PandaVision, a whole new series about The Stand, the CBS show based on Stephen King's novel. I watched episode 1 earlier today, and it's phenomenal. I can't wait for us to talk about that. I know Jeff and Matt are doing all sorts of great stuff over on the MCU cast. And for Paul, although he's not a stranded panda yet, Zen Madman, if you want to check it out on Twitch, they're doing great videos of how to learn chess, how to learn poker. Have you put any ones on linguistics up yet?
No, I mean, I've streamed from time to time. I'll, like, stream some Duolingo or some Cetera, do various languages and geography and stuff, but nice. I haven't recorded any videos.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to say, Paul, I'm so glad for all of us to be on this, but Paul, I don't know how much of these you remember, but a lot of the first ideas for these podcasts for me came when you and I would be sitting in the food courts of a poker casino at 2 a.m, debating about, whether Vader was the protagonist of the original movies. So it really meant a lot to me that you could be a part of these episodes as well. So check all these people out, all doing great stuff. For you, the fans, would love to hear what you have to say. You can find us on Twitter, on Facebook. If you could just go to the strandedpanda.com website, click on Star Wars Universe Podcast. It'll give you all our social media, as well as the social media for all these other people and all these other podcasts. Let us know what you think. We'll probably do a feedback episode if we get enough, or at least mention it in something else. What did you think of the ending? How excited were you about Luke? When did you realize what was happening? We were having a fun game about who could predict what. I got half my predictions right. I was pretty happy. What about you? What did you think of this all? What are your predictions for what's going to happen? What do you want to see of Boba Fett and Fennec? Which, by the way, one small comment I wanted to make. Someone asked, like, are Boba Fett and Fennec a thing now? I'm like, they might be. Who knows? If you had told me 2 years ago that you could have two seasons of a major TV show that had a major impact on things, that had did we ever see two characters kiss in this entire series?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, like, I mean, I love a good romance, don't get me wrong, but there's so often where it feels like there's a romance in a story because someone feels like there has to be a romance in a story. I have loved that we've had a found family for sure, but we haven't had that. So cool. That's cool to me as well.
Me too.
But anyway, yeah. So what do you all think? Let us know. And on behalf of myself, Paul, Ashley, Jeff, thank you all so much for being a part of this. Have a great day.
Woo-tee.
This is the way.
Talent without training is nothing.
We have spoken.
We have spoken.